Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Reading the Quran Beheld page by page. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm excited to get started. We just covered Surah Fatiha. It was definitely more in depth just because of how often we read it and how much there is associated with that surah. There's books written on it. But I'll be jumping into Surah Baqarah, and just to quickly reiterate, this purpose of this playlist and this video series is to show how to build a relationship with the Quran and what that looks like, right? So, as I said before, I'm just reading it as I would read it as if it was my first time. Of course, I've read it many times before, but it's gonna go through the entire page in one go and talking through some of the questions that might come into my mind in this reading, inshallah. So, just jumping right into it. In the future, I look to have the page laid out somewhere on the screen and maybe even have it highlighted so that we could read along together. But for now, I just wanted to show you, what the English translation looked like. You can see that it has a mushaf that you can actually read from, and there is the English translation on the left hand side. And it's linked such a way where if you're reading the English translation, it'll match up with where you're reading on the Mus'haf. So it's really good if you wanted to match up the meaning with the Arabic. But today, I'm just purely reading the English, so highly recommend you read the Arabic when you're doing your tadabbur, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The cow. In the name of Allah, most merciful and compassionate. Alif Lam Mim. This, no less, is the sacred book. No doubt is in it, a mighty guidance for the God-fearing, who believe in the unseen, keep well the prayer, and of what we have provided them ever expend, and who believe in all that has been sent down to you, and was ever sent down before you, and of the afterlife that are completely certain. Those are upon tremendous guidance from their Lord, and those are the successful forever. Those were the first 5 ayahs. Verily, those who stubbornly believe or stubbornly disbelieve, it is all the same to them. If you warn them or warn them not, they shall not believe. Allah has sealed shut their hearts and their hearing, and their eyes are enwrapped in a great blindfold, and they shall have an immeasurable chastisement. And of men are actually some who say, we believe in Allah and the last day, while they are no believers at all. They try hard to deceive Allah and those who believe, while they deceive none but themselves and cannot even tell. In their hearts is an utter sickness, so Allah has increased them in that sickness, and they shall have a painful chastisement, because they lied and lied. And whenever they are told, work not corruption across the earth, they say, we are but putting things right. Verily are they the corrupters, but are not even aware. And when they are told, believe as other people believe, they say, shall we believe as the fools do? Verily, indeed, they are the fools, but do not even know. And whenever they meet those who believe, they say, we believe. And when back alone to the godless fiends who lead them, they say, verily, we are wholly with you. We are only mocking. Allah is mocking them and giving them rope in their accesses, lost blindly in a daze. Those are who have eagerly bought pathetic misguidance with true guidance. So their trade profited nothing, and they were ever helplessly unguided. That was the end of the 16th ayah. And just as I was reading this, and maybe some of you were listening along and reading from your own translations, something that caught my eye within the first 5 ayahs, when Allah is describing who the guided believers are and attributing that list of what it takes to essentially be someone who is guided and be a believer, right? The first five ayahs is almost a criterion. It's describing who it is that can even understand this book, or be someone of understanding of this religion. Um, and he mentions in ayah 3, who believe in the unseen, keep well the prayer, and of what we have provided them ever expend. Um, we often get lost in the world where we think that we even have ownership over things, that we may have even earned something, subhanAllah. And this is just a theme that's reiterated for who a believer is someone who actually gives from what Allah has given them. And we should understand it as that, right? Allah is kind of giving us that language in the first five ayahs of who a believer is. So that's my takeaway from this reading. Um, and then ayah 5, those are upon tremendous guidance from their Lord, and those are the successful forever. I'm a person that works on definitions. I want to know what the definition of something is, especially what the definition of success is. And Allah giving it plainly, telling us what it means to be successfully forever. And it's summarized in five ayahs, subhanAllah. Those are the five ayahs that Allah decided to utilize before capping it off at the end of this page as explaining that those are the successfully forever, the ones who are on the tremendous guidance from Allah. And then as soon as you flip the page, you see that the tone has completely shifted, right? Now we're talking about the stubborn disbelievers. So verily those who stubbornly believe, what are their qualities, right? If we warn them, it's all the same, whether we warn them or we warn them not. They will always be disbelievers. And it's almost like in ayah 6, following into ayah 7, Allah has shut their hearts and their hearing. There is a worldly punishment to a person that may walk the earth with arrogance to not even listen to the message of Allah. When we give da'wah, maybe to our friend or even a relative or someone extremely close to us, maybe, and they may not reciprocate as what we're saying in any means whatsoever. They're just not understanding at all. And we hope that it isn't due to arrogance and is just ignorance, but really Allah is punishing the person who is so deep in their disregard of the message that He blinds them even more. Subhanallah. But that's what I take away from reading those two ayahs right away, actually. They try hard to deceive Allah and those who believe, while they deceive none but themselves and cannot even tell. In their hearts is an utter sickness. It's describing a losing battle, right? It's this entire page, I feel like, is just a mirror, depending on which side of the mirror you're on or what you're looking at through that mirror. Either you're looking at yourself and you're fitting the qualities of a believer, or you're looking through the mirror and you may be seeing the qualities of a disbeliever. And that's on you to see. And then Allah describes the qualities of the hypocrite when He discusses the ones who question whether or not they should believe, or whether they are talking to the believers and saying, we are with you, we are believers, but then they go back to the people that they have chosen to surround themselves with, who are disbelievers, and explain to them that they're merely mocking. Are those qualities that we may see in ourselves? Maybe, if not exactly to those extremes, maybe we were practicing Muslims, perhaps, and we have brothers and sisters around us who are on their deen, maybe more than us, and we catch ourselves talking about them in a light or fashion that they wouldn't like to hear, or we shouldn't really be doing. Maybe we should aspire to be more like them rather than talking about their deen, subhanAllah. So many ways that we can try to grasp at this meaning depending on what we see in that mirror when we put it in front of us. And then Allah ends in on this page with the on the 16th ayah. Those are who have eagerly bought pathetic misguidance with true guidance, so their trade profited nothing, and they were ever helplessly unguided. Explaining the hypocrites that Allah was talking about earlier, who were so deep in their misguidance. He talks about it like a transaction. They purchased misguidance. It's actually very profound for me to think about it that way, because we were just talking about how on the flip side you have the believers, and they're supposed to give out of charity from what Allah has given them, and it's a transaction. But that transaction, in my mind, the word that comes to my mind is the concept of being lopsided, right? Everything good that you give from, that you've earned in a halal means, is a gift from Allah. But then here Allah is saying that the ones who are in complete disbelief or who are in hypocrisy, they've purchased from their own selves misguidance with the true guidance that they were given from Allah, maybe through hidayah or whatever they originally had of the message. And this, this is of the hypocrites. So this beginning of the Quran, we talk about beginnings and we talk about Fatiha and how the relevance of that being the opening of the Quran. But really, when you start seeing this second chapter, Surah Baqarah, and why Allah placed this in the very beginning of the Quran, to me, it's just, let's place the mirror from the get-go. Let's put the mirror in front of you now before we begin essentially dissecting the true message of Islam and where you are in your life. Let's place this mirror now. Where do you fit? So that's how I would summarize it and how I would see this first page. And inshallah, once we start getting into the next page, and as we go page by page, I want to try and connect what we've been reading. This has been my method to really build a relationship with the Quran, is going slowly, right? So there's no real time constraint here. I'm just going to read this specific translation. If you have an iPhone, you can actually download the Quran Beheld and see the exact translation. And then what I have been doing, because it does get pretty, I would say, intense with the Old English because of just how deep some of the meaning can be in the Arabic, I used the Clear Quran to reference to just make sure I was understanding the right meaning and the tafsir, because this also has quite a bit of tafsir that's embedded in the English translation. So inshallah, you guys enjoyed the video. I really look forward to getting more deep into the Quran in this manner. It's very, I would say, over the surface, and that's the point, right? Like I said, you don't have to know every single thing in the page, as long as it was impactful and you felt like it changed you in a little bit of a way. So, Jazakallah khair for watching. Until next time. Assalamu alaikum.